Hello SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded. About a week ago I posted a video looking at broken column, symbolism and funerary connections, and I was using the Freemason tracing boards, but again it's wider than that because it's sort of all crisscrosses. But I got asked a question, a few people commented, look, like, what are these stars here? Now I did find the larger board, but it's not as high resolution, so you can see there are those stars there, and it's just zoomed in a little bit more closer there, and you can see there's 7 stars, and there's actually this one, but we'll come to that in a moment. But we'll look at some comparisons of different tracing boards, and you'll find links in the description, reading material, because anyway, so here's another a carpet or a tracing board. I think this might even be an apron, but again you'll see the use of 7-star symbolism, but notice the arrangement of the stars. And so here are a couple we've joined, and we have a similar thing. So we have 6 stars on the outside, 1 on the center, but still 7 stars. Here's another one, 6 around the 7th star. So that's one common form of arranging these 7 stars. However, you also see very often, such as this, just top corner. So 7 stars arranged around the moon, 7 stars around the moon, 7 around the moon, and the same thing here with 7 points or 7 stars around the moon. Another example. So that's there on the top right of the tracing board. Here's another example. It's a little bit, again, 7 stars around the moon, and here's another example with the 7 stars around the moon. So still 7 stars, just arranged a bit differently. Now here are some other boards, and so again you can see at the top here, 7 stars with the moon, 7 stars with the moon, again 7 stars with the moon, and the same thing there. It's just, it was a low res, but and back to this one. So again we have 7 stars with the moon, plus this, we'll come to that in a moment. Another example, 7 stars in the moon. We have 6 there, but it's a sort of low res, so there might be the 7th in there, but again you see it's a common theme. Again, 7 stars with the moon, so that's another arrangement of them. 7 stars with the moon, 7 stars, but now let's look at the next collection. Now I noticed that they all have different patterns. Now did I? Okay, maybe I've mucked up the order of these, and we'll review some of those different patterns. Okay, so what we call it actually is 8 or 10 stars, but again notice the arrangement of the stars around the moon, but this time we have this meteorite coming in. Again connected to the moon. 6 stars clear, but we have the 7th one with a meteor. Back to this one where we had 7 stars plus the 8th would be this meteor, and we showed that again. See how they're all arranged. We've got the different arrangements. This one's a 6 around the 7th, but again we have this meteor, and again showed that one, but different arrangements, but notice how often they have this meteor with them. So again, links in the description. Most will just say it's the Pleiades, which is the 7-star oh god, what's the term for this cluster of stars around the shoulder of Taurus the bull. So we have Orion's belt, the 3 stars pointing to the head, the Pleiades, which include Aldebaran, which is the really bright yellow one, or reddish one there, which is the bullseye, and Pleiades. But if you follow Orion's belt in the other direction, it points to Sirius in Canis Major, the dog star. Now, all of the Pleiades, Orion's belt, and Sirius are just global ancient symbols, especially connected to navigation because they're so bright. Sirius is a brighter star. It's actually a binary, but let's just call it Sirius. It's the brightest star in the night sky. And here's a screenshot from Stellarium. So you see Canis Major, the dog, Sirius, Orion with Orion's belt, and Taurus. There we have the Pleiades and the Hyades, and so again, Aldebaran, the bullseye, being one of these super bright stars in the night sky. And same with the Pleiades as well. It really sticks out even when we have, like here in Sydney, light pollution. I can still see Pleiades, Orion's belt, Sirius, Aldebaran, even with the light pollution. There's a picture of now. It's called the seven, but just as with other it's the seven brighter stars that they usually point out. So importance of the Pleiades. So in Job 9:9, the Bear and Orion, will come to the Bear, Ursa Major or Ursa Minor. The Bear, the northern, will come to, but the Big Bear and the Little Bear are constellations right up near the pole star. So we have the Bear, Orion, and Pleiades mentioned in Job 9. A lot of this Freemasonic stuff has, Old Testament and New Testament, but a lot of Jacob's ladder and other features. So Job 38:31, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades or loose the cords of Orion? Mazzaroth, which is just a Hebrew term for the 12 signs of the zodiac, a little bit more into that, but just basically, or can you guide the bear, Mr. Bottom, with its children, so the little bear and the big bear. Amos 5:8, the one who made the Pleiades and Orion. So that's a shot from the international version of the Bible. Not sure, but what we have, the important one, especially with regards to Masons, you should be generally probably to look at the King James version and what it says. Amos 5:8 in King James, seek of him that maketh the seven stars and Orion. So seek him that make the Pleiades and Orion, or again, seek him who make the Pleiades and Orion, but in the King James version, who makes the seven stars and Orion. So Pleiades are the seven stars in the King James version. Again, it's because they're so bright, and anyone, especially sea maritime people, Norse legend Pleiades are known as Freya, the goddess, and her hens. In Thai tradition, the Pleiades are known as the chick stars, so 6 chicks and the mother hen. Greek legend of Pleiades are known as the 7 sisters, and loose the bonds as well. Now, this is a modern figure. Also should mention, someone just pointed out earlier, in the Hindu, in the Manu, in the flood legend, there are also the 7 sages who had the 7 wives, or 7 sisters as well. So connection there. Here in Australia, again, there are many different regions, but in the centre, like for instance where Uluru is, they have a legend there of the 7 sisters chased by the morning star of Orion's belt, which is a nice connection to the Pleiades and Orion and this thing. So was it the 7 sisters of the 7 colleges for the female colleges in the US? You have the 7 sisters station in London. Just these 7 sisters is and a lot of connections to 7, but these links mostly to the Pleiades. Might be worth mentioning as well. So you have I did even the geometry of major engineering companies, but Mazda not so much. But Mazda is named again on their own site. I'll say this: Mazda is named after Ahura Mazda, which is a Zoroastrian god, the god of light. While the Subaru company, although it has 6 stars again on its own site, lists that this is Subaru, the Japanese name for the Pleiades star cluster. The 6 stars represent the companies that merged together to create Fuji Heavy Industries. But so even the Subaru symbol, Japanese term meaning also unite, but the Pleiades in the Taurus cluster. So because they're so bright, just like Sirius, like Orion's belt, they're truly international symbols as well. So we'll show it again later, but notice also Orion's belt points to Sirius, and Orion's belt points to through the Hyades to Aldebaran, the bullseye, and to the Pleiades as well, which are in the shoulder of Taurus. So again, you can do a search. I'll link a few different papers, pages on this, but we also have like the blazing star. So you often see this 5-pointed star on the tracing boards and emblems of Freemasons and others. But the blazing star, main would say that it's Sirius, the brightest star in the sky. Soptet was in the star of Isis in ancient Egypt as well. Sirius is in Canis Major, the big dog. So we have Canis Minor with Procyon, another very bright star. But that's the dog. And we also have the big dog, Canis Major, with Sirius in there as well. So most sites would say that this connects to the blazing star is Sirius. And this one also mentions based on the ancient calendars on the helical rising of Sirius. We'll show that in a moment. So we have this one star, the blazing star. Then we have the 3 stars of Orion's belt. And we come to Taurus. And so again, now we have the Hyades, which is 5 points. The 5 of the Hyades, or Hyades, maybe I've got, pardon the pronunciation, just zoomed in so you can see that triangular sort of shape of the face of the bull, including the bull's eye, Aldebaran, the brightest star there. And then we have the small cluster but very bright cluster of the Pleiades. And I'll link the page in the description, because there's also a suggestion that this 3, 5 and 7 is of relevance to various emblems. Now again, Orion's belt points to either direction towards those. So if you look at Mason boards, I've zoomed in on here, we see the stairway, 3, 5 and 7. I'll show, this is one where I showed it, but again we can see 3, 5 and 7. This is a staircase to an actual lodge. So we have the 3 steps, beauty, strength and wisdom, which are also the 3 Greek orders of architecture, beauty being Corinthian, strength being Ionic, the male, and wisdom being, Doric being strength, the male, wisdom being Ionic, the female. And you can also see down here, so the JW, the junior warden, stands next to the Corinthian column, the column of beauty. Senior warden is the Doric, and WM, worshipful master, the column of wisdom, the Ionic. Now notice that they're in a different order, but they're also here. Tuscan, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian and composite, or Roman composite. Those are the 5 orders of architecture. Again, in this board you can see literally composite, Corinthian, Ionic, Doric and Tuscan. These are the 5 Roman orders. So you have the 3 Greek orders, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian, plus the 2 Roman orders. Those are the 5 steps, and these are also connected to, so Tuscan is hearing, Doric is seeing, Ionic is feeling, Corinthian is sense of smell, and the composite is a sense of taste. So the 3 steps, 5 steps, and then the 7 steps of grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, geometry, music and astronomy, the 7 liberal arts. And always you'll find that the final 4 would be the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music and astronomy. The 7 liberal arts, you have the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, which is said to be the lesser, and then you have the 4 higher of the liberal arts. So maybe I'll notice that geometry stands out. It's a different colour here as well, because of the importance of geometry to the quadrivium. So of the higher order, the quadrivium, geometry is probably the most important of those, because it relates to, so like you're not doing astronomy without geometry, and the geometrical nature of music and arithmetic, and arithmetic is numbers, geometry is really shapes, but they're interchangeable in a sense. So one of those blogs was talking about these, the connect 3, 5 and 7 also being an interesting connection between these, and this pathway, this stairway as well, and that they sort of elevate up is an interesting point. But we come back to Sirius and the helical rising of Sirius. Because of precession, these things change over time. In the Old Kingdom, helical rising of Sirius was at a different point to when the time of Ramesses and the creation of Abu Simbel. But there is on October 22nd, helical rising of Venus. The sun shines right through the gateway and illuminates 3 of the 4 gods. Not Ptah, the god of the underworld as well, but the 3 others. But so interesting link there. But I think the later period in October, the helical rising of Sirius. But now we have the Taurid meteorite showers, meteor showers, which occur November, maybe right through to late December. But the Taurid meteorite showers now pretty much time themselves with Halloween or All Hallows Eve. A lot of these interesting. It's sort of across the world that you have the Night of the Dead or celebrations that sort of tie in with around this period of year, as in All Hallows Eve, but also in non-Christian places there's I wouldn't say abnormally, but a nice correlation between that time of year. I've also noticed the constellation Columba. It's a common feature because that connects to the arc as well, but I won't go into that for now. So the meteorite showers. So if we go back, again with those tracing boards, the arrangement of the stars are all pretty different, but this, I think it's a nice link because again, Mackey and a lot of the other Masonic writers and Masonic encyclopedias speak about these being the Pleiades. However, I'll include this link as well because he's also suggesting to look more to the Bear constellations, those being in the northern point. So Ursa Major, the Big Bear, has, and again it's one of the very visible. You basically need, so on the Big Bear, you follow this line and it'll point to the North Star, and that has 7 stars in this. Also called the Plough. There's different names for it, but the 7 stars that point to the north. Another point of navigation. So there you see the Ursa Major, the Big Bear, Big Dipper. It points towards the North Star, which is a very dim star. So to spot it out, you really need the Big Dipper, and it is on the tail of the Little Bear, Ursa Minor. Minor Bear, and then Ursa Major, the Major Bear. So again, just like with Sirius, Orion, Aldebaran, or the Pleiades as well, very important for navigation by night. But there are also 7 stars. So again, Ursa Minor, the Little Bear, 7 stars, 3 on the handle, let's call it, or the tail, plus 4, and the same thing on the Big Bear, 4, and then the 3 others. So there is some dispute. Generally, overall, it's the Pleiades, but it's interesting when you read because there's so much discussion and variation and different opinions on these symbols, but also I would say layers to them. So maybe about 3, 5, and 7 stars, coming back to the the 3 initials. So first step, becoming a Mason, you become an EA, entered apprentice. Then you have FC, fellow craft, and then MM, master mason. So as your first 3 steps, but also the connections to the worshipful master, senior warden, junior warden, which are connected to beauty, strength, wisdom, the 3 Greek orders of architecture, the male, the female, and the maiden, but again are also incorporated in the 5 Roman orders, which are connected to the senses of smell, and then you come up to the 7 liberal arts. And so much to be said about how important 7 is in esoteric and just general in traditions in general. So especially smaller numbers, 3, 5, and 7, we're just sort of everywhere. So it's an interesting discussion between exactly what these mean, and that could mean all or both. But if it comes to looking at them literally, well, firstly the boards vary differently in the way that they show these stars. We saw those with 6 around the 7 and then 7 around the moon, always connected with the moon here, but these 7 are none really match either the Little Bear or the Big Bear. at best there's a vague resemblance to, like for instance, you might say this again in reverse, because there's that orthogonic view where you sometimes portray the constellations as you're looking them up in the sky, other times you portray them in reverse as you're projecting them down from the sky. So some of them have a vague resemblance, but yeah, at least according to the literature and the biblical tradition, the bear, or both the little and the big bear of 7, and Orion, but the Orion has 3 of course, and the Pleiades having 7, and this long-standing connection of 7 with the Pleiades. But again, Job 38:31, Pleiades, Orion, and the bear, and the Pleiades and Orion. So, but again, when you go to the King James translation, they name the Pleiades as the 7 stars, because you can just compare them with other versions for Pleiades and Orion, Pleiades and Orion. But Geneva Study Bible maketh for 7 stars and Orion. King James Bible, seek him that maketh for 7 stars and Orion. So 7, almost certainly, at least the stronger case would have to be for the Pleiades, and because of that connection with All Hallows Eve and the Taurid meteorite showers, why so many of these have this connection of the meteor or the blazing star, maybe connection as well. But again, we see those. So not being an insider, I can only sort of rely on the stanza texts that are available, and they tend to be, depending on what nation, what lodge, what time you look into as well. Also, I did a long series a while ago looking at people like Albrecht Dürer, Athanasius Kircher, and you can see that these later Mason boards draw a lot from these pre-free and accepted or speculative Masons formalise their system of drawing, but the geometric astronomical connections are in there. I'll put it in. It's a long playlist, like 30 or more parts, but it's got also to do with alchemy as well. I'll show that one. Because I didn't include this in the collection, but in regards to, there you go, the so this one, but now for instance you see the swan, which is Cygnus, and the serpent bearer, Ophiuchus as well. But in the alchemical times, notice like Occident, north, south, east and west, again, it's turned 90 degrees to the side. But these older illustrations and boards that predate the late 1700s, early 1800s, when the Mason boards that I showed are like become more formalized. Notice the arc as well being a common theme. But yeah, I think you can definitely see the origin of the more formal modern era tracing boards having a very strong connection to the Hermetic and the alchemical symbolism as well. So before formal chemistry, the way that they drew their symbols and signs, their language was in this more symbolic form. And so the different planets, the seven heavenly bodies as well, with the 7 planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn as well would be another way to look at a possible connection for the 7. But so it's really more, make of it as what you will. And so what constellation is this? I'd definitely lean towards the Pleiades. So that's what the Mackey and the Masonic Encyclopedia is the most Masonic. But again, there's a strong and a long historical discussion and looking into these. And again, like with all symbols, you can almost attach what you want to it, really. It's more what the tradition is within your organization, religion, or your group, what to make of these. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed. Again, it's just responding to a couple comments asking particularly about this board, which only had a partial view. But again, we see 7 stars with that Meteor in the comment. Again, notice the blazing star being a feature. 3, 5 and 7. The arc. We have the 3 Greek orders over here. And yeah, okay, so 3, 4, 5 Pythagorean triangle, the geometry, which is always essential in there. Also notice the lifting gear as well. This is another thing which is embedded in Masonic symbolism. They understood mechanical advantages as well. Where was that, the previous one? So we go. Yeah. One of the big, and again, it's sort of, especially amongst the, what the ancients knew about mechanical advantage and lifting. Well, that was they were clever, and this is a common thing across these Hermeticists and alchemists as well. It was, if once you understand how mechanical advantage and how to take advantage of levers and pulleys, there's nothing you can't do with them. But that's off topic anyway. All right, so hope you enjoyed. Cheers, SGD. Have a good one.